to the Scaling Japan podcast, a podcast about how to grow your business from $100,000 and beyond in the land of the rising sun.
Welcome to the Scaling Japan podcast. I'm your host, Tyson Batino, and I would like to thank Hashi Media for sponsoring this episode on B2C market entry. Leo, Dustin, and Steven and the team at Hashi Media have helped major brands like Asus, Subway, and Alibaba, but they also support small to medium-sized businesses with their social media and influencer marketing needs in Japan. Support the podcast, but more importantly, yourself, by checking them out at hashimedia.com. HASHI media.com. And they can help you with both your domestic and also marketing overseas. And on today's episode, we have Fumiko Yoshida. Fumiko is the COO of Tricolage. Tricolage provides sustainable tourism consulting to corporations and local governments. They also craft personalized journeys and travel plans for luxury travel and assist corporations with business travel and event support. Fumiko has experience dealing with consumers, government, and businesses, and will update us on the travel market industry in Japan in 2022 and how to do market entry into it. So we'll talk a little bit about sales and partnerships as well. But very glad to have you on the episode, Fumiko, and could you please give a brief introduction?
Thank you, Tyson, for having me here today. It is such an honor to be invited to speak about the tourism industry in Japan. My name is Fumiko Yoshida. I am a co-founder and COO of Tricolage. I originally come from luxury inbound travel industry and have coordinated a luxurious and unique Japan experience throughout Japan for over 1,000 inbound clients. I had many VIP customers of luxury brands who are invited to product launch parties or exhibitions. I had arranged hotels, cars, restaurants, and created special activities and operated all the logistics while they are here in Japan. Working in this industry, I'd often see the non-sound relationship between travelers and local destinations in Japan. While travel business focuses solely on fulfilling tourist demands and ensuring their enjoyment, local people, craftsmen, and hospitality suppliers' interests are often overlooked, and as a result, host communities are often negatively impacted by tourism activities. That's why back in 2020, which is in the middle of COVID, I met my co-founder, Benjamin, and we started Tricolage as a sustainable travel and events consultancy in Japan.
Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, so let's get started. I wanted to ask you, so how big is the tourism industry in Japan for inbound foreigners?
Before COVID, the tourism industry has kept growing. Back in 2019, over 30 million visitors come to Japan and about 5 trillion Japanese yen in spending, which was the highest numbers in Japan history. But because of the COVID, we had almost zero travelers from other countries. But still, there is a hope. Japan government set the goal of 60 million international visitors and 15 trillion Japanese yen in spending by 2030. Last month, which is in October, the Japan government opened the border finally, and they relaxed the restriction of the entry to Japan. And we had 500,000 of inbound travelers coming into Japan. And as Tricolage, we had more and more inquiries coming in finally.
Thank you for sharing that. And was that 1 trillion yen before COVID, or was that 5 trillion?
Before COVID, it was the 5 trillion Japanese yen, but Japanese government has a rate target, which is 15 trillion Japanese yen, 3 times more than what we had before COVID.
Yeah, I was trying to calculate that in US dollars. I guess with the exchange rate, it kind of sucks right now, but
Yes.
37 billion.
Yes.
Excellent. And cool. So moving on, just to provide users some context. And so what are the different services that companies can provide to tourists in Japan?
Travel industry has many stakeholders involved. So, for example, like ourselves, we are travel agencies who are create an itinerary and design the travel for the travelers. Whereas on the ground, we have a taxi services, tour guides, and of course, hotel and recently Airbnb or Mishuku type of accommodation services. And also there is a activity provider companies, for example, outdoor adventure or cycling or cultural experience. And also the tour guide, the bilingual guide or food specific tour guide or a hiking guide, etc., etc. So these are the different services that company can provide to tourists.
Yeah, it seems to have really branched out a lot, and you can pretty much get a tour for pretty much anything nowadays. And I've heard of even some photography tours where a professional photographer will take you around and you take photos together of Japanese scenic sites.
Exactly. So that's what we call special interest travel or SIT. So photography tour is one of the SIT. So the people who are very into photography often join the photo tours to capture the best of the Mount Fuji in the sunset or sunrise, or go to the bird watching and shot the very beautiful birds flying in the Hokkaido area, for example. Or there are also the gastronomy tour travel experience as well. So there are many different kinds of interest, special interest tours in tourism industry.
Thanks for sharing that. And I guess we're not even including some of the new ones. Like, I know you've worked in the luxury tourism industry, and right now you're also in the sustainable tourism industry.
Exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. Earlier, I forgot to introduce the company of the Tricolage. So if I may, let me introduce what Tricolage is doing. Tricolage, as I mentioned earlier, is a sustainable travel event consultancy in Japan. Our vision is to create a world where happiness is experienced by all. So we believe that tourism has a great potential to be a driver for positive change for social, economic, culture, and environmental good. We have two business lines. One is a travel service. Like Tyson just mentioned, we design personal travel experience from their arrival to the departure for mainly individual luxury travelers as well as business travelers from overseas. And we plan and arrange everything they will need during their stay. Another core business we do is a consulting services to the local government, travel businesses, and local tourism organization who are looking to sustainable travel operations in Japan. From sustainable tourism point of view, we support them in various ways, such as planning their tourism targets and strategies, offering trainings to the staffs or local stakeholders, creating sustainable tours and activities, and also helping to promote their destinations or products to overseas market.
So, who are the types of customers in the tourism business?
The type of customers in tourism business, we have local government, for example, cities or the prefectures, or the organizations such as tourism associations or DMO, which is destinations management or marketing organizations, which is mainly working in the area to create the contents or activities and market to the domestic or international travelers. We also have the travel businesses such as travel agencies or hotels and guides. And other area is restaurants, for example, or souvenir shops. These are the type of the customers in the tourism business have. We also have the corporation as the customers of tourism industry. For example, corporate do a lot of business travel or incentive travel or so-called workation, the work and vacation. That is also another big market that has been growing since COVID. So the corporation, when they do the travel, that will be the big customers in the travel industry. Also, individual travelers is one of the biggest customers. The people like ourselves go to the travel as a leisure travel in our holiday. So these are the type of customers in the travel industries.
Thanks for sharing that. And so, for example, with like local governments, what are some of the areas they're struggling with?
The problems that the local government has is that they are sometimes not good at promoting their destination very well, particularly to the inbound or overseas market. They know the local very well, but often they don't realize the appealing points that are very attractive to the inbound travelers. But for the local people, it is too normal to promote. So there are many hidden attractive assets that are not be well known by the inbound travelers. They want more people to come to their area because many local areas they are suffering from depopulation. So in the aging society, tourism is a very important industry. So they want more travelers from domestic or from overseas, but they don't know how to promote that, or they don't know how to create the attractive content in there. So they often introduce the regular sightseeing spots or regular tours, sometimes which is not be so attractive to the outside travelers.
I've also heard that I think some of the local governments, one of the struggles they have is they have tourists who come in, they see a famous site, then they leave, and they actually don't end up spending much to support the local economy.
Correct. The local government very often they have a problem that the travelers' expenditure is not so expensive while there have a lot of travelers coming in. So even though they have a lot of travelers, each expenditure per capita is not so expensive. One of the reasons is because they don't have enough contents to let the travelers stay overnight. So the travelers coming into the destination for only short time or just one day and just go back to the major city to stay overnight. Having the travelers staying overnight will increase the expenditure so much. So very often we hear the problems from the local government that they want how to let the travelers stay in our cities or the village. So these are the problems that they often have and come to us for the advice.
Thanks for sharing that. So, my next question would be I guess, what are the different types of tourists? So, one example would be the backpacker. But could you tell us about the different types of tourists and what their needs are?
There are different types of tourists, like Tyson just mentioned. There are backpacker type of travelers, and also there are luxury type of travelers who want to experience a unique and very luxurious experience throughout their journey. And also there are business travelers as well, who are coming not only for the meeting or the conference, but also before or after the business. They do some excursion to experience some leisure activities in other areas. The luxury travelers, their demands are they want to do something very special, or they want to do something very authentic or exclusive, something that is off to the public. So for those people, the travel agencies or the concierge type of companies will arrange the very special access. For example, in the temple, such luxury travelers are very interested in talking to the monk and the temple and sit behind the temple that is usually close to the public. So they will appreciate what the monk is telling to the travelers and go into the hidden room that are only used for the religious ceremony that usually people cannot access to. So these are the demands that luxury travelers often have. The demands of the travelers has been changing. So even though the mass travelers before they look for more what is called post card type of travel. What that means is they visit the different areas and tick the boxes of where they visited. And then they buy the souvenirs at the shop and then collect as many souvenirs as possible in different temples and shrines and all the sightseeing spots. But now it is more what we call taikengata or experiential activities. What that means is they want to actually experience something by using their hands. So, for example, they want to not just see something, but also make some cultural crafts or together with a shokunin or artisan, or visit the artisan atelier and create some crafts together. So the demands of the travelers have been changing recently.
That's very interesting. Do you find that tourists who want to have more experiences, are they usually repeat visitors or first-time visitors?
The travelers who want to do more experiential, I would say it's more repeater customers. Having said that, they really appreciate the culture of Japan because it's very different from what they have in their countries. So these people, even though they are not repeated customer, but the very first timer, they also want to do something experiential. I would say that it's not necessarily the repeaters who are seeking to do experiential travel, but for those who come from Western countries, they would want to do more experiential travel. As far as I see from my experience, that's how I see from the inbound travelers trend.
Gotcha. So, here's my next question. I really want to learn more about how the tourism industry is evolving and changing. And I think you explained about the high-end luxury tourism. I would like to give a shout out to Wayfarer. This isn't a paid ad, but my buddy runs very nice hotels in Kyoto. They look gorgeous. They're pretty cool. It's on the luxury side, but also like on the experiential tour side. Yeah, and I know there's a lot of food tours has been picking up as well, and that's becoming a pretty good sized business. I wanted to give another big shout out to our sponsor, Hashi Media. Looking to expand your marketing and reach for your gaming, tech, or lifestyle brand? Hashi Media can help you make that transition. They have helped major brands, and why not let them help you with yours? I know the founders personally, and they know their stuff to give your marketing the push it needs to reach a larger audience. They're also hiring social media account managers, copywriters, and graphic designers. Be sure to check them out at hashimedia.com. I think you also mentioned about sustainability, but was there anything else you want to add about the sustainability side of tourism?
Until the pandemic, the major interest for tourism industry has been always how to increase the number of visitors coming to Japan. But recently it's more about how to make tourism high value added and sustainable. Because Japan has been nurturing its tourism industry in order to become a kankou rikkoku, a tourism-oriented country. However, major tourist destinations such as Tokyo and Kyoto have been facing problems caused by over-tourism, such as disrupting residents' lives or damaging the cultural heritage and natural environment. Also, there are a lack of economic benefits even when people visit in large numbers because they spend little money or there are not enough places or services they can spend money on in the first place, just like Tyson mentioned earlier. So therefore, the tourism industry has been trying to increase the per capita spending per trip by enriching experiential activities and enhancing accommodations and services for the high net worth travelers, which are in line with the global standards. I've seen a lot of, for example, in Kyoto, like you mentioned, there have been so many luxurious accommodation built up in the last couple of years, not only Kyoto, but in other regional areas as well. And that is really in line with what Japan government is trying to build tourism industry in Japan to target to high net worth travelers or the people to spend more and more money while they're in Japan. From the sustainability point of view, nowadays, especially since the pandemic, there has been a growing demand for sustainable travel, with a recent survey showing that over 80% of travelers want to travel sustainably. In addition, more people are seeking travel that contributes to well-being and self-discovery, where travel is not just about having fun anymore, but also about experiences and interaction with people that encourage self-reflection or transformational experience. There are many reasons, I think, for this change in thinking, but the impact of pandemic has been very significant, I feel. After a long period of stay-home time, travel becomes to be seen as something very, very special. This has led to an increase in the number of people who want to gain a lot from their trips, not only enjoyment, but also learning, and not only benefits to themselves, but also to society and the environment.
Excellent. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs in Japan and probably definitely some people in the tourism industry listening to this episode. And I think one challenge that both entrepreneurs and people in the tourism has is making partnership and maybe possibly doing sales to the government and Japanese businesses. I guess I want to look at the domestic tourism agencies, for example, like, how to reach out to them or like how to work with them. Please tell us more about the domestic tourism agencies.
So, being as a small company and a relatively very new company, we try very hard to make all this relationship with the travel agencies in Japan. So how we do is we often visit the tourism related exhibition where a lot of tourism industry businesses come and show the booth and exhibit their products and services, and etc., etc. There we do a lot of studying beforehand. We visited all the travel agencies that we want to partner with. Because we are specializing in sustainable tourism, and also JTA or Kankocho, Japan travel agencies, are promoting sustainable tourism. Many travel agencies we're talking to are interested in sustainable tourism. So we are going to all this exhibition and talk to the travel agencies one by one and talk about how they will do the sustainable tourism in their products or services. And from there, we take a lot of time to make a relationship. And then they have difficulty promoting sustainability in their company, or they have problems or issues, or they don't know how to start with their existing travel products and the project management skills. In Japan, business culture is nothing can happen in 1 or 2 days. It always takes a long time to build a relationship, especially if you're small or very new or has no track record. So by going their office many times and we build a relationship, that is a very important key.
Excellent. And I guess another challenge, it's I guess on the theme of domestic tourism agencies, how about like old school Japanese companies? So I think in the travel business, a lot of hotels, taxis, and transportation businesses, also like craftsmen and things like that. What are your tips on maybe making partnerships or working together with old school Japanese companies?
I learned myself how to work with the old school Japanese companies myself. Being as a Japanese is still difficult. I need to learn myself to work very well with these Japanese old school companies. They want to know the specific requirements in the first place. So working for the inbound travelers, they often come to us and say, what can you offer to in this particular destination? And then we do a lot of interview to our clients to ask what you want to do, what are you interested in, and based on that, we craft the personalized itinerary for them. But in order to do that, we need to know what the government can offer or what hotels can offer. They want to know the specific requirements of how many people, when they're coming, when is the check-in, and when is the check-out, and how long do you need a car, from what time until what time. But at that point, when we receive the requirements, we don't know exactly what clients will want on that day, or even we don't know whether these customers will come in the first place. So we need to take a balance of how to reach to these old school companies to collect as much information as possible without giving too much detail of the customer's journey. Because at that time, we don't know yet about what their customer itinerary will look like. So that is a very hard part that we need to deal with. So this communication is very important to give the enough information for them. So we need to have a concrete ideas of what clients will want so that the hotel or taxi company or the local old school Japanese companies in local area propose something that they can offer. Otherwise, they say, no, that's not possible because you don't give enough information. So we need to be as smart enough to somehow effectively negotiate with them to do something special for the clients from overseas.
And I guess the last one I wanted to talk about was maybe a little bit more about corporations, especially those involved in the sustainability industry.
I think the corporations and sustainability part of it, I think we usually have services they want in three areas. The corporation, they want to organize their business travel, incentive trips, and corporate events more sustainably. And also, they want to engage with their customers and sharing their sustainability practices, and also they want to learn how they can operate their overall business more sustainably, including reducing carbon footprint and all the reduce the single-use plastics and etc.
Have you ever found yourself having trouble creating a business plan? Do you pretty much operate on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, creating confusion and chaos in your organization? If that sounds like you, I recommend you join my Entrepreneur Bootcamp. In my bootcamp, you'll set an achievable but challenging revenue target for the current or following fiscal year, and we will create a business plan to make it a reality. See more in the show notes below. And now back to our episode. And yeah, so thank you for giving us an update on how the travel industry is in Japan, and also if we're in the industry or want to get in the industry, some tips on how to do market entry to make the partnerships and do the sales to get your business rolling in Japan, especially because it takes time and it is tough to make partnerships. Now that we're at the end of the podcast, are there any types of partnerships you're looking for, or do you have any requests to the audience?
Thank you for asking, Tyson. Well, at the very last note, yeah, we would like to work with as many partners as possible in Japan to promote the sustainable tourism here in Japan. Like I mentioned earlier, our company vision is to bring happiness to all through sustainable journeys. So we work hard to help drive sustainable tourism development in Japan, and being as the first and the only global sustainable tourism council certified travel business in Japan. So to achieve our goals, we want to collaborate maybe with three types of partners. The first one is travel. We would like to work with the travel companies looking to provide a better travel experience to not only travelers, but also local communities and also our planet. And secondly, we'd like to work with consultants supporting local areas of Japan on inbound tourism strategy and travel contents, such as activities or special tours. And also, lastly, we also would like to work with companies who can refer us to tourism projects from local government, focusing on sustainability, or companies who want to organize their business trips and events more sustainably. So yes, we started our company 2.5 years back, but surprisingly, the sustainable tourism is becoming more and more a big deal for the Japan tourism industry. We want to expand our network throughout Japan in not only the Tokyo or big area, but also all the local areas, and want to work with the people who envision this similar vision, which is sustainability, sustainable tourism, and would like to work together to build this business to benefit not just ourselves, but also the local community and the environment and also the planet.
On this podcast, you shared a lot of hard-earned things that you learned through trial and error. And like when we are preparing for this episode, I was thinking like, you sure you want to share that? That seems like some really not secret knowledge, but really good knowledge you have. I was impressed that because your mission is sustainability, you actually believe in that mission and vision. You actually shared a lot of what some people might consider as trade secrets to carry out your vision of sustainability. So thank you very much, Fumiko, and thank you so
Thank
much for your
you.
time.
Thank you so much, Tyson.